All right, welcome back to Global Conflict TCG. Ryan here again with you. So it's been a few days since I've done a devlog. Had to take a little bit of a break from the game just because I don't know, I probably spent a good, 6 hours, maybe 7 hours on it last week. So took a few days off just to kind of regroup myself before I go back at it. So this devlog, this is going to be the fifth devlog. It's going to be fairly short. Just going to be more of an update to show you where I'm at in the process with the startup manager. So long story short, I could tell you I'm pretty close to being done with it. And with that, I'm kind of starting to research like the next steps, like what's coming up after this. So basically, when the startup manager is done, which will probably be after one more devlog video, I'll completely finish it. I think at that point, what I'll have to do is I'll probably have to duplicate it and make a startup manager for player 2. And we'll go through that, change the variables, do all that kind of stuff. But then after that, it's going to be the turn manager. But also too, at the same time, I'm going to have to start thinking about what the online component is going to look like. So that's what I've been doing lately. The past couple days is starting to dig into some different multiplayer platforms like Photon or Mirror, things like that. I think I'm going to probably go with Photon just because there are Playmaker plugins for Photon, which is nice. So looking into that. So that's going to be something that we have to dig into the future to try to get this thing to be an online type of game. So, but long story short, let's talk about the startup manager. So I did some work on it since my last video. There are a few things I had to kind of accomplish. So number one that's coming to mind right now is I had to think about like limiting the number of cards that I can put into the base area. So I had to work on that. I had to work in some loops here to check for when cards are in the active spots. And then I think in my last video I talked a little bit about making the panels for the mulligans and that kind of stuff. And then I also went ahead, and I'm pretty sure I didn't cover this, but I also got some other panels too that are going to do basically just like instruction panels, which are going to tell you to place units on the field and things like that. So let's just go ahead and go play maximize and show you what I got. So what's going to happen, just as usual, we're going to draw our deck is going to shuffle. We're going to draw 7 cards from our deck. And at that point, it's going to ask us if we want to take any cards for a mulligan. Because I haven't changed that variable. We're probably just going to say no, just depending on the kind of hand we get. And then from there, we'll place units in our active spots, and then we'll place some units on our base. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right. And we got no basics. Still no basics. There we go. Got 1. Got 2 actually. So let's go ahead and take the 3 mulligans. Click yes. That's actually one other thing that I changed too. In the flow, I actually where that panel with the mulligan, the buttons yes or no, where it was at in the flow was weird. Like if you clicked yes, the panel would still be up, but it would draw the cards for you, and then the panel would disappear after the cards were drawn, which is kind of weird. So I actually had to rearrange those things, which ended up causing me to make 2 separate panels, one for starting, or 2 separate states, one for opening the panel prior to drawing the cards, and then one for closing the panel prior to drawing the cards. So just to change in the process. But you can see here now that I have a message, this is new, a message that pops up, choose up to 2 basic units to put in your active positions. When finished, click the done button to the right. So all this means is at the very least, you have to put at least 1 unit in an active spot, but you can put 2 if you like. So what's also interesting about this flow is so like I'm going to drag 1 unit, and I'm going to go ahead and just place that here. And so there we go. We got 1 unit in the active spot. And so this message is still up, and basically behind the scenes, what the flow is doing, it knows that I dropped a card on active spot number 1. And then once it sees the bool variable get checked for active number 1, it goes back and it runs through all of the child objects of the player 1 hand, which is right all of these cards right here, and it's going to check for more basic units. And so it actually did find another basic unit right here, this NHA Light Infantry. So it knows that I still have basic units in hand, and it's giving me the chance to attach another card here in my second spot, or I could click the done button. So that's all wired up already in the flow. I'll go ahead and click done just for this sake. So you see now it's telling me choose up to 4 basic units to put on your base. When finished, click the done button to the right. So at this point, I can go ahead and just start dropping units in the base. One other thing too that's also in the flow, I'll take a card here, and you'll see if I try to drop it in the active spot, it didn't snap. It won't let me. So in the flow, once I was done setting the active units, I actually disabled the active unit spots, so they won't snap to place. But let's just go ahead and keep adding to our base. There we go. Add another one, and we'll add one more, so it'll be 4. And then, so we have 4 units in the base. If I try to add another card, it won't work. It's shut down. So added that to, I believe I added that to the drop zone FSM for the player base. So yeah, that's pretty much it for as far as progress. So I have these things set up at this point, so we're going to get out of it. So that basically everything I walked you through is really from this point here. It's just checking for active spots here, and I'll show you. Let's go to play focused. So we'll go play focused. We'll let it run through its deal. There we go. Drawing 7 cards. We'll pass on the mulligans. We don't want them this time. We'll wait. There we go. So you can see we're working through. We drew all of our prize cards. This little section here is drawing the prize cards. Now we're stuck at this state. So in this state, we activated a game object, which is this little message panel here, that text panel. And then we're sitting here. We have a get FSM bool for player 1 active, get FSM bool for player active 2. So it doesn't matter which active spot you drop the card into. Either way, it's looking for bool checks from either one of these spots. And then we're doing that with the bool test. So bool test every frame. You can see active spot 1, active spot 2. And then once we pick one of those, so let's go ahead and do that. What's going to happen? Let's see. Let's go ahead and open this up. So if you could see the two events here. So like if spot 1 is filled first, then it's going to loop down to state number 10. It's going to get child next from the hand, and then from here it's going to get an FSM bool, do a bool test to see if it's a basic or not. If it's not, so if it's false, it's going to come back to state 10, get the next child, check FSM bool, do a bool test. If it's not a basic, it's going to go back to 10. So this is actually, it's kind of hard to see, but it's actually a miniature loop. It's going through all of these cards in the hand. It's going to check for basics. If it does find a basic, so right here, if variable is basic unit is true, then it's going to go to the next state here, where it's going to get FSM bool for the player active 2. So since this is the loop for player active, if you put a unit in player active 1, it's going to be looking for player active 2 next. Vice versa, if you go to player active 2, like I'll show you here, I'm going to drop this card into player active 2. You can see I went the other route here for state 13, get next child. That same loop that I just talked about a second ago, it's going to get the bool, do that loop until it finds a basic unit, which it did find a basic unit, which is this NHA card. And so once it finds that other basic, it's going to go ahead and sit in this state. It's going to get an FSM bool for player active 1, since we're on the line here is for starting on player active 2. And it's just going to do a bool test. It's going to look for either the done button, which is right here, or it's going to look for the bool variable from player active spot number 1. So it's my choice. If I want to drop a card in there, it'll work. If I want to just press the done button, that'll work too. Let's just go ahead and take a card and we'll just drop it in there. Boom, there we go. And all from that point on, This state is a little interesting. It's going to do a few things. It's going to set a bool value for player 1 active units ready. See, actually, it's going to say false. That's interesting. I thought I was supposed to make that true. I'm about to go back and rethink that. I think this is actually supposed to be true, because if I go back, I'm about to look at that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think this set bool value for player 1 active unit ready, I'm actually supposed to have that as true. So what that's for is the 2 startup managers, when the game starts, they need to communicate with each other, and they just need to know where the other player is at in the process. So say we go through all this, we set our active units, but our other player is still picking cards and doing that kind of stuff. We're going to set our variable saying that our active units are set and we're ready to proceed. While at the same time, in this next state, we're going to wait for player 2. They have that same variable, player 2 active units ready. We're going to wait for that bool to become true. And then once it becomes true, then we'll go ahead and proceed. But yeah, I'm just setting, this is actually supposed to be true. I'm just going to set that bool value, let the other player know that we're ready. At the same time, we're going to activate a game object, which is the message panel here for putting basic units on your base. We're going to enable an FSM, which is going to be the player 1 base, which is this big gray rectangle here. And then we're also going to disable a couple FSMs on the player active unit spots. So that's what I was saying, what I showed you a minute ago, where you can't drop any cards on there once you're in this state of the startup. That's because I'm disabling those FSMs. So yeah, then the next state, we're looking at player 2, seeing if they're ready to proceed. Once that goes true, then it goes to the finished event, goes to the next state here, which will activate another object for the base cards. So that is pretty much it. Where did we go? Yeah, and it looks like I just ran through it already. So at this point, yeah, we could just drop cards in there. There we go. And that'll let you go up to 4 cards. And that's pretty much it. That's what I've done. I actually did this over the weekend. I would say the next step now, so there's some other things I got to clean up. I have to clean up a little bit of the drag and drop on the cards. I was running into an issue where if I would hover a card over the top of the active spots, it would actually check the bools on both cards. That was a problem, so I got to look into that. And then try to think what else there is. I have to build the coin flip still. That'll probably be one of the next things I do, is the coin flip animation. We'll build that in, and then that'll be an actual like FSM that fires off before the startup manager even starts. So that'll be something we do. I don't even think I'm going to look for any help videos on that. I'm just going to make it. Like I think all that needs to be done is like get a coin, like a picture of a coin, have one side be heads, the other side be tails. And then we just kind of flip between the managers, or not the managers, but between the images. So I'm not going to get any help. I'm just going to experiment, and I'll probably record it too, so you guys see how I work through it. Probably won't be easy, but we'll figure it out. Otherwise, after that, like I said, the final action on this startup manager is going to be either an event that we send, or most likely it'll be a bool variable that we set, basically just saying that player 1 and player 2 are ready. And I think that's it. I'm trying to think what else do I got? So yeah, we send the final event, and then after that we have to start working on the turn manager. I guess just a heads up for you guys, like I think there's going to be a good chance that I put this specific project in Unity on hold for a sec. I'm still going to continue the devlogs because I'm going to have to do some experimentation when it comes to doing the attacks between both cards and setting that up for multiplayer. And just for my own sake and my own consciousness, I think I'm going to end up starting like just another blank project and doing a super simple build between cards and trying to work all of that system out before I proceed on this project. Just the way I work, once I start building a project up, it gets kind of hard for me just to wrap my head around everything. So I might just start with a very simple, no frills. I'll put a couple cards down and we'll figure out the attack system. And then probably at the same time, I'll figure out the system with Photon and doing the multiplayer, and I'll try to get all those bugs worked out. And then what we'll do is once I figure that out, then I'll come back to this project with a better idea of how I'm going to approach it. But from a grand scheme of things, once the startup managers are done and I make the second startup manager for player 2, we really should start working on the turn manager and going between the different player states during their turns, and going back and forth, checking for win conditions and things like that. And then once the win condition is done, then that'll be a different FSM that we start up for winning the game. So lots to do. This, like I said, this is going to be a process. I've been working on this for a while, but we're going to go, however long it takes me to finish it. So I'm going to call it here. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and stick around for the next video. If you're watching this at a later date, there'll probably be another devlog video that pops up, I think up here. So check it out. Like, subscribe if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff or you're curious to see where this project goes, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.